Die Australiese beeshond is deur die eeue met baie sorg gedeel om beesboere te ondersteun. Te danke aan hul hoë intelligensie is hulle deesdae ook gewilde troeteldiere. Ons gesels nou met 'n beeshondteeler van Pretoria, Helen Lagenecht, oor die interessante honde. Goeiemôre en hartlik welkom.
Goeiemôre Elsa, dankie.
En hy is so soet, hy lê net maar net daar heel stil en rustig, maar ons is baie bly om hom hier te kan verwelkom. Vertel ons 'n bietjie meer van die geskiedenis van die ras.
The working and herding dogs that were familiar to man during the early colonization period of Australia proved to be totally unsuitable to their climate. In 1840, a farmer, Thomas Hall, imported a pair of smooth-haired blue merle Highland collies from Scotland, which he crossed with the dingo. And this cross produced silent workers that became known as Hall's heelers and were a big improvement on any other breed available at that time. In the 1870s, the Baggers brothers purchased 2 Hall's heelers and crossed them with an imported Dalmatian with the intention of instilling loyalty to their masters, because you know dingoes go walkabout, and a love of horses. But with this cross, they lost some working ability. And the Baggers brothers, who admired the working ability of the Kelpie sheepdog, then added this breed to their breeding. And the dogs produced from that became the forebears of today's Australian cattle dogs.
Watter eienskappe aan die ras maak hulle so ideaal om met beeste te werk?
Their resourceful intelligence, the phenomenal combination of instincts that they inherited from the dingo and herding dogs as well as the Dalmatian, and their strong muscular build, speed and agility can't be beaten. A short, relatively low-maintenance coat and their work drive to get the job done. In his book, Australian Barkers and Biters, Robert Kaleski writes of the working ability and ethic of the ACD with such admiration and respect. These were tough days and men working in very hard conditions, and to gain their respect was not easy. The heeling work is smart, and biting at the heel that is on the ground gives them time to get out of the way before the kick comes, and they can take a big kick. And this work on the heels is why they're also known as heelers. They're able to, they're versatile dogs. A friend of mine who did a gap year at a horse stud in Japan said that a dog they had in the stables was just brilliant at getting difficult horses into the horse transport.
Is die ras redelik nuut in Suid-Afrika?
No, they were initially imported into Botswana, I'm told, by a cattle farmer in the 1930s. So they've been here a long time.
Hoekom juist beeshonde, Helen?
They're extraordinary all-rounders. In addition to working cattle, they are just the most marvellous companions. They seem to have a sense of humour, but actually their problem-solving abilities and other behaviour brings out our humour and provides for many happy laughs with the dogs. They are exceptional bodyguards, and I use this word deliberately over watchdog or guard dog. They have an instinct for weapons that could harm their humans and react strongly to any sort of stick. So anything from a gun, a handheld gun, to a tennis racket would be considered a weapon. You have to be careful. So he's sitting here very happily, but if anybody in the studio picked up a stick while I'm here, he would go on full alert.
That's very impressive. Watter tipe temperamente het beeshonde?
As with all breeds, breeders play a big role in this, as does the owner. Most ACDs love humans, especially their own. They are, however, instinctively suspicious of strangers. But once they get to know regular visitors, they will never be forgotten. And with few exceptions, they are absolutely fantastic with children and babies. In South Africa, as violent crime increased, some breeders and farmers started breeding ACDs for aggression, which contributed to the breed being regarded as problematic by the vets and doctors who had to fix up the damage done. They are instinctively super protective of their owners. They don't have to be aggressive for this. Clicker training has changed perceptions that they are difficult to train. They respond extremely well to learning concepts as opposed to harsh training.
Ek sien baie uit na die res van hierdie gesprek. So bly ingeskakel. Ons gesels net hierna verder met Helen Lagenecht oor 'n Australiese beeshondteeler. Ons loer eers hoe dit verlede week met die kommoditeitsmarkte gegaan het. Ons gesels nou verder met Helen Lagenicht oor die Australiese beeshonde. Helen, soos met enige suiwer honderas is daar sekerlik gesondheidskwessies waarop teelers moet let en voorlaat toets ook. Vertel ons 'n bietjie meer daarvan.
Some serious hereditary diseases spiraled from the 1980s onwards, specifically PRA, which makes the dogs go blind from as early as 3 years. PLL, also an eye disease. Hip and elbow dysplasia have to be tested for, and today many breeders are testing for something called DISH, which is a spinal disease that's becoming more prevalent. Deafness was introduced to our breed by the Dalmatians, and ethical breeders will do hearing tests on all puppies, not earlier than 8 weeks old. Deafness contributed to unfair remarks like stupid and stubborn, but one can hardly expect a deaf dog to listen. So we needed to pay attention to this. In the early 2000s, my husband and I got our first ACDs, Charlie and Amber, and subsequently discovered both were affected with PRA, and Amber was also deaf. They are the reason I started breeding. I realized I would want more ACDs in time, and as the percentages of deafness and PRA were very high in South Africa, I decided I would bring in new bloodlines when I was ready.
Gesels 'n bietjie met ons oor die belangrikheid van konformasieverwerkende honde en hoe hondeskoue hiertoe bydra.
Sjoe, in die begin was skoue vir my glad nie lekker nie.
Ja?
I have 2 left feet and was totally confused about the dress code. In 2012, I gained invaluable insight on this vitally important part of breeding dogs when I went to the World Dog Show held under the FCI rules, which is a World Canine Organization. And the kennel clubs of the world belong to this. It's based in Belgium. When presenting our dogs to impartial qualified judges, we show our commitment to keeping the various breeds of the world true to their purpose. It simply boils down to, can this dog being presented and does it have what it is needed to do the job it was bred to do?
En word hierdie honde nog in beesboerderye gebruik of word hulle nou slegs as troeteldiere aangehou?
They are still worked very successfully. Gwen Shipperson from Buffalo Creek Ranch Cattle Dogs says this: "We are a remote cattle ranch in central Wyoming. We raise a commercial herd of Angus cattle on over 100,000 acres of range land that is rough and rugged. Our dogs are our hired hands. We do not employ any outside help. And the dogs do all the cattle work on the ranch. They work all classes of cattle from newborn baby calves to bulls that weigh over a ton. And we still help our neighbouring ranches as well. The Australian cattle dog is the best breed for our purposes."
'n Mens kry ook 'n Stampy-tail beeshond. Is hierdie honde se sterte afgesit of is dit 'n ras op sy eie?
Nee, dit is 'n ras op sy eie. Hulle is sonder sterte gebore. They originate from the Smithfield, a naturally bobtailed dog crossed with a dingo, and then selective breeding of the short-tailed dogs set this characteristic in the breed.
Is daar enigiets anders wat jy miskien wil uitsonder in terme van hierdie spesifieke honderas?
Ons het nie so baie gesels oor... Yes, can I just go back to...
Ja, natuurlik.
I would like to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing with the breed. When I decided to bring in new dogs, I brought in a really beautiful bitch from Germany in 2010. And in 2012, we managed to produce an ACD who was an ACD litter that was really excellent out of a 3 times world-winning dog. And my priority in breeding is genetic health and dogs true to their breed standard and conformation to do the work that they want to do. And I would like to share a quote from the Australian Barkers and Biters by Robert Kaleski, who loved these dogs so much. He says, "Picture him bringing in a wild mob of cattle through mountain country where often no horse can find footing. Snap, snap at the leaders as they swing reluctantly back up the track till the mob is over the ridge, saving his master the risk of a broken neck. See him again at the trucking yards, pushing the oxen into the trucks, or mustering the carrier's oxen for him in the dim dawn, so as to let the big wool wagon and its load get away. Watching the wagon and his master's gear in townships and healing the oxen, bullocks, to do their utmost where the pulling is hard. See him bringing in 100 head of dairy cows off the steep hills to their bales in the milking shed. These are God's dogs indeed."
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. Wat is sy naam, wil ek net vinnig weet?
Zenzi.
Zenzi, natuurlik.
Ja,
Goed,
ja.
baie dankie. Dit was Helen Lagenicht en Zenzi, 'n Australiese beeshondteeler en dan ook die beeshond homself.